So we have an update for the last video. The police actually called me, a detective, today and said they caught him. They got the guy. They checked footage, and detectives told me that there wasn't... he made it seem like from the footage that wasn't the way they caught him, because there was no footage of him. But they said not to worry. It's an ongoing investigation. They can't reveal much further details, but that they caught him and the community can feel safe. So, okay. I'm assuming that was probably to do with the bullets. That's probably what it was, or by chance he gave himself up, or somebody gave him up. Whether it was, he came back to his girlfriend and she was like, "What were you doing with the gun?" I don't know. But pretty good result. And now, the very same day I've received that call from my community, I see that someone has completely defaced the stop sign. Here's what I mean. As you can see, that stop sign is completely messed up. Oh yeah, flying in private. So, in this update, these videos that are going to be preceding this one, these next clips have already been filmed previously, but it still applies. This is a couple days afterwards. How do I feel right now? I was cleaning my ear myself, and it's still not fully there. It's a lot better, but eventually I'll have to go in. Right now, it's fine enough not to go into a doctor. I'm just going to wait until, I see my doctor next, and then I'll get a referral from an ENT, and then we can go the slow route of going through insurance and trying to get everything paid for. Not great. So, just to get your ears clean. What if it was an emergency? We are going to fix my health insurance, but I talked with one of the people from work, and probably that's going to be the cheapest and best option, but I can only apply for it to change in January for February. That's pretty much that. Maybe since my contract is with the healthcare marketplace coming due in January, maybe get it done for January, but that's about it. Still have to wait a couple months. So, and here we go. Hey guys, my name is Michael, and today we're discussing about health insurance and how big of a problem it can be in America. Because last year I was making a video, or maybe it was 2 years ago, my ears constantly have problems. Now, I have grown accustomed to these problems, and with pretty severe and pretty bad tinnitus and hyperacusis eventually went away. I guess I habituated to tinnitus. We're approaching it has been over 4.5 years now, approaching 5 years dealing with these conditions and hearing loss and whatnot. I had just returned from a visit from physicians in immediate care, urgent care, because I was looking for ENTs, couldn't find anything, was looking for audiologists, couldn't find anything that was available today. I tried since yesterday, D-Brox twice, and it started flaming up, and I was like, oh boy, when you feel that, you're worried about infection. Thankfully, there was no infection. It's just the longer you wait, the longer a infection can occur. So if it's an infection, then it's going to cost you a lot, and just a simple ear cleaning shouldn't be that expensive. The problem is with an ENT, it can get very expensive, and there's always the risk that you go to, yes, I'd prefer going to an ENT because he's a specialist, but I went to try and secure a visit. Okay, if I couldn't find something today, maybe tomorrow, right? Maybe, but I was looking throughout the entire city, and I couldn't find any ENTs. When I looked up ENTs, eventually I got so far into the list of like online ordering, ZocDoc and whatever, and all these other places. And I'm sure if I called like 20 places, maybe I could find somebody who's available for tomorrow. But then you get to the other problem, and that's I have insurance, whereas before I didn't have insurance, and I ended up paying over $1,000 for an ear infection. Now I do, except it's an HMO plan, and first you need to register with your PPC. It is such an interesting feeling to be able to hear better again. It's always that initial after cleaning, after you're able to get that earwax out. And there was a lot of it that got stuffed and clogged. And I tried Debrox, and it was just like this wall. You just hear certain vibrations and whatever, but you're deaf essentially in that ear. Sometimes it happens in both ears. Now, I didn't do it on this side because this side I can hear, but I can certainly hear the difference between a lot of earwax and no earwax, or very, very little earwax. And eventually this will build up to its normal levels. But this got to a point where it was impacted, and after I went swimming yesterday at the beach, some water got stuck there, and it I was worried about it turning into an infection. 2 years ago, almost, in November, I believe it was, I had an ear infection, and I made a video about how expensive that was, about almost $1,000 for me. So I remember clearly I should have had health insurance. I was thinking to myself, if only I had health insurance, I'd be fine. And same thing with my vision, because I've broken my glasses. I had to, even today, I had to get them straightened out for the second time. I have frequent problems with my astigmatism. I have visual snow. I have tinnitus. I had hyperacusis, pretty severe hyperacusis, and was able to get past it through a lot of time. And eventually, I guess you could say habituation through tinnitus, and it went away through maybe good habits and staying away from loud noises and whatnot to a normal level. I'm pretty much able to live my life normally again now. And part of that maybe is because my hearing's essentially getting worse over time. Maybe that was because of a very recent, a lot of earwax came out. So maybe I was half deaf already because I just couldn't hear anything. Now, even with that earwax out, I do have hearing loss, very minimal, but it is getting worse, and eventually, moderate in certain frequency ranges, right? I do have tinnitus, so that gets worse depending on situations, but I've had pretty good habits to try and avoid loud restaurants, bars, clubs, festivals. I don't really do that. Any loud noises, like there's a train right now, I'm filming inside. I don't want to be outside right next to the CTA train. I'm going to plug my ears. Like there was a very loud Range Rover, straight piped or whatever, that was blasting down the streets of Chicago. Yeah, certain cars, I habituated that. I'm able to live a normal life. I don't plug my ears constantly. I'm not running around with my earmuffs at work. I can still kind of stay near service. I don't go through service. I can stay near service and live relatively normal. And thankfully we have a dealership where it's not too loud and everything's fine. And it's a much better situation than it is a couple of years ago. But it's a frequently occurring situation with earwax, or with, if there's swimmer's ear or ear infections or something, either with vision or your ears. And it happens a lot to me. I had a surgery on my nose to try. So ENTs, they're like my best friend. Except the problem is, in America, it's a lot harder to find an ENT that are able to schedule today or tomorrow, let alone for it to be in network and all of this and everything perfect. Because when we started looking today, early this morning, this was yesterday, I got swimmer's ear. It was blocked. I got Debrox. It made it even worse. And I was like, oh God, now it's starting to hurt. Then it's, okay, I need to see a doctor because this is my ears we're talking about. This can get very expensive very quickly, and it can make it a whole lot worse. It's right next to your brain. If you get an ear infection, that was my number one concern. I don't want an ear infection. We went to the doctor today. We don't have an ear infection. Going to urgent care, it's not the best option, but it is an option. It's better than trying to figure it out yourself, which I tried at first and it doesn't really work. And, the more you stick stuff down there, I'm not sticking it, but a little bit, trying to clear it out, right? A little bit came out and a little bit came out and a little bit came out. And I had to go to the doctor because so much came out that I couldn't have possibly done it myself. If I could go to an ENT, that's the best option. Next option is the audiologist. But the problem is, there's two problems. First of all, the frequency of visits and trying to find availability is pretty bad sometimes. Oh, I just realized we're stuck in this parking. We got to get out of this parking because pretty soon we might not be able to. So hold my thoughts right here, Michael. Let's get out before we get stuck here. All right, look at that, Chicago after Labor Day. Man, the skyline looks gorgeous. It's such a weird feeling to have like no earwax because especially the dichotomy. I can hear it feels so much worse than this ear, where like literally an hour ago when this was completely deaf, it was like, oh my God, this ear's perfect. Now I can feel it. Now it's like, what the heck? It's so weird. And nothing was done to this ear. Nothing. It wasn't cleaned, whatever. I don't want them to touch it, because unless it's like impacted, then we should be fine at that point. So anyways, back to the topic. Chicago style dog at the Field Museum. There's a little hot dog hut over here. Love him, just like Portillo's. So the big problem is I have a health insurance, and it's costing me over $346, I think 26 cents per month. So essentially $3.5 grand per year. And I always knew it wouldn't cover everything, but it's a gold plan. It's not a bronze or silver plan. And I never really knew this difference between HMOs and PPOs or whatever. And now I do. Today is the day we learned, when we realized, hey, even if I could find an ENT that's in network that is available today, well, I first need to see my PPC, my primary personal care provider, whatever. Well, they chose someone random in Chicago who has no appointments, so I changed it to someone closer who also has no appointments, but, no doctor has appointments. None of these family internists or family doctors or general medicine or whatever have any availability anytime soon. And then you can go to a specialist such as an ENT. Well, I already know I need to go to an ENT. So today is when we learned that even with my health insurance, I still have to pay for stuff like getting my ears cleaned, or if I have tinnitus problems, it's going to be expensive. Okay, so now it's been a couple hours. My ear does hurt a little bit because they were cleaning it, and then they did irrigation. They said there was no other option because it was stuck so much, and so much came out that I actually might believe them. So with someone who's suffering from tinnitus, it is something you have to be very careful of. The vacuum, I heard, is the worst of them all. The irrigation can be really bad depending on the pressure, depending on the temperature of the water, depending on where it hits, depending on if you have a hole through your eardrum, a perforation. There's a lot of stuff going on, but it's always a nightmare trying to clean earwax. And whenever it does occur, you are deaf. If it's a clogged, blockage, in some cases, it can be an emergency because it can lead to their ear infection. It can lead to hearing loss. That's permanent. A worsening of tinnitus, again, permanent. No cure for it. So in these cases, you have to get to a doctor relatively quickly. Not like maybe, broken bone style, but in urgent care. All right, this is day like 5 or whatever afterwards. So my left ear, because since my right ear was impacted in full, my left ear is also in a similar condition where now I can't really hear. I can hear parts of it, but it's the echoes, and you can feel there's something there. It's this uncomfortable feeling. Well, let's remove this earwax so I can hear normally again, because from this ear, it's perfect. But what's going on? So I call audiologists this time. Everything's fine a couple days after this. Thank goodness. Because you never know. There's always a problem of increasing tinnitus, whether it's through removal manually with a needle, or through syringing, the water irrigation, or with a vacuum. Everyone says, well, irrigation's really bad. Well, the vacuum's really bad. Well, even the manual can hurt you. It's like there's risks everywhere. It's bad if you leave the earwax in. It's bad if you don't. A lot of people are saying, like the hardcore tinnitus talk guys, you only do olive oil. It softens it up. Well, olive oil, if you leave it in there for like 2 weeks, maybe it softens it up. I don't know. I've seen videos where people test it out, 5 days, and you have different sources, hydrogen peroxide and Debrox and sodium bicarbonate, and I don't know, there's a couple other ones, but olive oil doesn't really do anything. It's a terrible, like the spray is better than just putting olive oil drops in there, because at that point you literally cannot hear. It's terrible. But it doesn't really do anything. And if it's stuck in there, again, it's kind of like the Debrox. The Debrox helps a little bit. It's a little more efficient than olive oil, but it doesn't really do anything. It doesn't solve the main problem, because there's still earwax stuck in there, except now it's kind of mushy, and it's easier to take it out, but there has to be a way to take it out, right? So I started calling audiologists this time because I looked everywhere. I changed my personal care provider again. I called my insurance. I want to figure this out, right? Because until I'm able to change back into a PPO plan, I'm stuck on HMO for probably the next 2-3 months, right? Until the end of the year. So let's get a PCP and then let's get redirected to an ENT. But at the same time, also do an annual checkup, which I haven't done an annual checkup in like 3 years, but, at least make some use of this health insurance, right? So I finally, after a lengthy process, was able to book an appointment because I called the doctor and they're like, well, you have to confirm with your insurance. Okay, well, let me confirm with my insurance. The insurance redirects to some like Philippine call center. And hello, sir. Thank you so much for your business. You are a member, trusted member. Okay, member, here is what. No, I just want the reference number. They're saying I need a reference. Okay, member, what other health insurance do you have? Is this no offense, but I'm sorry. I am upset. I'm really upset at the healthcare system. I'm really upset at health insurance. I'm really upset at everything. And like most Americans, I understand they're very hardworking people. Nothing against them. It's just, if you don't understand, I need a reference number. I don't want to waste 15 minutes on the phone just asking for a simple number, which at the end she gave it to me. But no, she had to ask about 20 million other things, which some of them weren't even related to my questions. Like, what? So, I don't know. Maybe it's their process. But Ambetter of Illinois has terrible reviews. But Blue Cross Blue Shield has terrible reviews. I mean, all your options suck. Which option sucks less? That's the problem with health insurance. So, let's take a look at audiologists, because we can't get an ENT appointment. And even if I wanted to pay cash for it, nothing's available this week, right? The ENT that I went back for that ear infection that cost me like $1,000, well, he's not available at all this month. And then I tried with a PCP that could provide me with an ENT. This PCP was available, I think, early next week. And I was like, okay, this is good. I call. Oh, yeah, she's leaving the group. Oh, my God. That's why she's available. She's leaving. She's quitting. Oh, my goodness. Wow. So it has been a fun time calling audiologists. The first, beep, beep, hello, this is a, it's talking for like 2 minutes, robot, redirects me. I get redirected again. And then they're like, oh, we're the national center. This is a national group. We need to redirect you to the store. I was like, well, yeah, that's what I'm calling. I'm just calling with a question, because not all audiologists accept cleaning earwax. And I wanted to see if they can do it, because in Poland, it was so easy. Boom, got my hearing aids. Boom, went to an audiologist. Boom, went to an ENT. Boom. I mean, everything was so easy back there. You just buy the private insurance, LooksMed, and then there's all these doctors in the same building, and I can have an appointment the next day if I wanted to. The same day even, if I really wanted to. If I got the VIP plan, which at that point, I could care less. I mean, it's just amazing. So I called, and no one's picking up. So I hang up, and I go there, and it's dark. They're supposed to be open at 9 a.m., but there is a person sitting behind the counter, and she's staring at me as I'm trying to open the door, because I was like, I don't know if it's closed. The lights are off, except the light by her, and she's there. She's staring at me, and it says at 9 a.m., and there's a sign that says, we'll be back at 9 a.m. 9 a.m. It's 9:50 a.m. Okay, well, that's why they're not picking up their phones, because they've only been open for 50 minutes and they're sitting in the dark. So, I don't know. So I go to the next clinic, audiology clinic, whatever, and they don't pick up. Before I go there, I call them. They don't pick up. So I go there in person, and I walk in, and they say, are you already a patient with us? No, I'm not. I'd like to become a patient. I'd like to have my ears cleaned. Oh, then we can't do that unless you're already a patient. Go to Walgreens. Well, I know Walgreens and CVS can do it. I know an urgent clinic can do it as well. It's just I'd rather have someone who specializes in this stuff actually take a look at my ears. But no! So I went to Walgreens, and I got my own little syringe a couple days ago with like the tri-point, so it doesn't hurt my ears. And I tried it, and nothing came out. And it's like, So now we're going to the third place. But in the midst of my search, this is all before work, just wasting my time. In the midst of my search, there was a fun scam where it had like 41 or 49 bad reviews, just 1 star, 1.1 out of 5 stars. I click on it. It was like Hearing Something Solutions, whatever, nearby. And it's some group that a lot of these hospitals in the area use for hearing tests, except they scam these customers because insurance doesn't cover it, because it's not qualified or whatever. I don't know. It's the craziest thing. Audiology, health insurance won't cover it because earwax removal is considered a surgery. So that's why you have to pay cash. And all of this stuff, I mean, it's just crazy. This group, I guess, was being hired by these hospitals, and they have billing problems, and they take you to collections after 1 month, and you don't even know you got a payment because you thought insurance covered it. This is just a disaster. I hate this. Like, honestly, this is so bad that even though I love America, I love the opportunities that are presented here, I don't want to retire here. I want to retire abroad in Europe. I want to live at a place where I know if I have to go to the hospital, who cares if the doctors and treatments and medicine is better here if you don't have access to it. It doesn't matter, because even if you do have access, but your insurance is out of network, and this is out of network, and the doctor's out of network, well, the hospital's in network, but then you're still going to get hit with a bill for $500,000, and then you're screwed. And then you're going to really rethink your life decisions. You're going to think, wow, I should have stayed in Europe. So, yeah, it's crazy. I always have problems with with my ears and earwax removal. Why can't I speak and all this stuff? So something that should be so simple has already cost me $165 at that one place, and now it's going to cost me more. And people are going to be like, well, why didn't you do it at the same time? Because I don't want to damage my hearing. And that, the doctor said, well, this, we can't do a manual, and it's really stuck on there. You know, it's better to put the Brox on it. And some doctors, an audiologist, will actually say, you know, put some sprays in there, the Brox, whatever, use it for a couple days, then come back. It's going to be easier. So it's like, well, yeah, that's, you know, and maybe the irrigation wasn't as bad last time. Like, it doesn't seem like I have any tinnitus that worsened from this side, because there was the Brox in there for a couple days. There was manual removal and then irrigation. So maybe it's, you know, if it was just straight irrigation, maybe it could have been worse. Who knows? But anyways, we are now close to ending my search, because we're getting further and further away from home, but I need to get back home, and I don't know. So we might just end up going to a Walgreens clinic. I don't know. This is crazy. All the Minute clinics have terrible reviews. Absolutely terrible. That you sign up for an appointment, they serve you 2 hours later, or maybe they close, or maybe they cancel, or maybe the nurse tells you, hey, you have an allergy, you need to go to the ER. Or, you know, just a whole host of stuff that makes me realize I don't even know. I don't even have time anymore. I'm not going to risk it. I don't even have time to get back home and do it myself, because I don't want to rush it. We just have to go back home and go to work, and that's pretty much that. And this is why I hate the healthcare system. Oh, my back's hurting, by the way. Maybe I slept wrong this morning, or maybe it's my continuing back problems, but at this point, who cares? Because I'm not going to a doctor anyways, except for that one checkup that will be covered by my insurance. But, you know, that's what I probably paid the past, how long has it been? 9 months of insurance for. So, you know, well over $1,000 at this point. I'm closing on $2,000, actually. I can't even do math. 3 times. Yeah, so over $2,000 has been spent, and yay, we'll get to use my personal care provider. I just hope that's a good experience, because the other problem was I was looking up PCPs, and there's a bunch of terrible doctors out there. You know, nothing's ever perfect in this world, right? We don't live in a utopia, but come on. I think there's probably a way to fix this system. I really do. I think that it would require a complete system rehaul, and I'm not an expert. It's a very complex topic, but a lot of people can agree the healthcare system is short of perfection by a while. But, you know, it's just a joke at this point. Oh, that's kind of cool. A bunch of like funny colored houses. The one with the yellow door. Yeah, that's kind of cool. So that is pretty much that. That's why when we went to the beach on Monday on Labor Day, it was really hot. I didn't really drink a lot of water that day. That was my fault. I was planning to, and didn't really eat too much, and I had a beer, and I was like, well, you know, we don't drink alcohol too often. Let's go swimming, and then I'll drink water then. And I went swimming, and I don't swim too often, and I went full out. Used to be on swim team and a lifeguard, but obviously I've gained a little bit of weight since then. I went full out, was super sore, come out, and my neck starts hurting, and I lean back, it's super hot, and then I lay on the blanket because I was like, yeah, like something's a little off here. And at that point, I was close to passing out. My lips started turning blue. My eyes were bloodshot. My wife said she freaked out. Her and her mom started, putting ice, and they're like, do we need to call 911? I was like, no, I feel great. I was like, my blood was pulsing through my veins. I was super close to passing out. Like I could hear the sounds, and vision was a different world. And at that point I was like, no matter what, even if I'm dying, you're not taking me to the hospital. You're not calling 911. You're not doing anything because, well, I wasn't saying it that emphatically. I was like, I'm good. Because I'm afraid, I don't want to go to a hospital and lose a bunch of money and probably not even get treated. Although for that's easy. But, in the future, like if there's ever anything serious, I get into a car crash and I don't know. I love America, but this is one of those huge downsides because it's your life we're talking about. It's your health. It's your life. I'm going to eat healthier. I'm going to do a lot of things, but eating healthy doesn't help my ears. It doesn't. So, what does? Good healthcare. Good. These minute clinics are a joke. Healthcare is a joke. Most of these doctors may be good, and yeah, but there's going to be a couple bad ones out there, and I don't know what to do. So this is just a giant rant video. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.